Hi everybody, we're live on Virtually Connecting, and we're connecting today with the FemEdTech crew at OER 19, who have joined us after their own session. And I'm very excited to do this because this is a great opportunity to catch up with what are some pretty thorny conversations that people are grappling with at OER 19 this year, and some very important conversations. So perhaps if we could start with the on-site folk and you could introduce yourselves, and then I'm going to ask in turn everybody who's virtually connecting with us here to very briefly introduce themselves too. And then we can find out a little bit more. We'd love to hear more about what you've been doing in the session today on site.
I'll start off then.
Thanks, Lorna.
I'm Campbell, and for the purposes of this session, I'm just me.
I don't know what to say. I'm Frances Bell, and I've just done a session on FemEdTech with Lorna, and we have badges, which you can't have virtually, but there you are. That's the best you can do. Okay. And after the break, I'm on another session, FemEdTech session with Louise. So here's Louise.
Hello, I'm Louise Drum, and yes, I'll be presenting with Frances in the next session during the conference on just looking at some of the tweets of the FemEdTech curators and who it is and what it is. So that's what we'll be talking about next. Mm-hmm.
That's great, and we're going to ask you to expand a little on that in a moment, perhaps after we've just done our introduction. So thanks very much for that. I'm joined virtually buddying by Alan and at times Felix. Alan, would you like to start off and tell us who you are and where you are?
Thanks, Teresa. Good morning. Good morning here, good afternoon, and whatever time everybody else is. Alan Levine coming to you from South Central Canada, and it's great to be here with so many good friends and colleagues, and Ontario Extend well represented. We like that. So looking forward to a great conversation.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And next on my screen, I'm going in the order on my screen. Sorry, folks, because I can't do alphabetical stuff at this time of day. Daniel.
Hello, Daniel Villar from Disruptive Media Learning Lab in Coventry. And I'm with Lauren.
Yeah, hi, I'm Lauren Haywood, also from Coventry.
Great. So Daniel and Daniel's lab that he mentioned there is just up the road from where I work. So we're the UK contingent today.
We could be physically in the same place too.
Yes, that's right. Jess.
Hello, Jess O'Reilly, coming in from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. It's about 4 hours north of Toronto.
Great, thanks, Jess. And Maureen.
Hi, Maureen Glynn. I work at Trent University in Peterborough, Ontario, which is about an hour and a half northeast of Toronto.
Great, thank you. Canada's very well represented in our sessions, which is brilliant.
It's very well represented at the conference.
Yes, yes, excellent. Nadine.
Hi guys, Nadine here. I'm joining in from the American University in Cairo, so not at all in Canada, very far away. And I'm the regional lead buddy for Virtually Connecting for the Middle East and Africa, and I'm very happy to be here.
Lovely, thank you, Nadine. And Sadiq, you've joined us. Welcome.
Hi everyone. My name is Sadiq from Ghana. I volunteer for Wikimedia Ghana User Group and Creative Commons Ghana chapter. I run open data events, and we are trying to create an open educational resource network in Ghana here. Nice to meet you all.
Brilliant, thank you. And yeah, Creative Commons, having finished my Creative Commons certification as well recently, I know just how important you are.
Oh, well,
very, very important.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for your introductions, but first of all we have to raise one important question to make sure everybody listening to the recording is in the know. Who or what is FemEdTech?
Go Frances. Right. Okay. Well, you can find us in quite a few places. The first is at FemEdTech on Twitter. The second is at the hashtag #FemEdTech. That's FEMEDTECH. And the third place is in a sort of curation Google spreadsheet where you can volunteer to curate. And I couldn't possibly remember the 30,000 character URL for that, but you'll usually find it. I mean, to be honest, we've got quite a few curators at the minute, but when we need some, we pin the link to it to the FEMED at FEMED Twitter screen. So, but to say what we are, perhaps Lorna, you could say something more about the idea of the collection.
So really, it's about bringing together a community around feminist values and how they relate to openness on education and technology. And one of the points that Frances and Manon made in our earlier session is the FEMED Tech Network isn't just for people who identify as women, it's for anyone who identifies with feminist philosophies and approaches to technology and to openness and to education. And we do acknowledge that that is a very broad community, and that we will not always be in agreement. So we do want to try and ensure that the community is diverse and that it's inclusive, but we also that we bring to it real values of kindness and tolerance, and that we are relating to each other on a very personal and individual level. And that was one of the reasons why I said, you know, I'm for the purposes of this session, I'm just me, I'm just Lorna. This is an extra institutional project. FEMED Tech does not exist as a thing. It's just, it has no resources. We have no funding.
Oh, we've got a few euros now.
Yeah. The entire resource of the network is in its people and in the kindness of the people and what they bring to the network. So this is as much a network for you as it is a network for us. And as Frances said, the FEMED Tech community has been most active on Twitter, where we have the Twitter feed and the shared curation. We've also recently built a FEMEDTech.net website to host discussions around some of the themes that have emerged from previous OER conferences. And to build that website, we used one of the Splot themes developed by Alan, the True Writer Splot. And one of the reasons why we really wanted to use that theme is that it allows anonymous posting to a WordPress site. And we felt that was very, very important, that to encourage a diversity of voices, that we allow people to contribute their thoughts and their input without necessarily having to identify themselves, because we're very cognizant of the power imbalances that exist in the open education community. I mean, we're sitting here, we're white Western North Hemisphere women, and we're aware that, you know, there is a danger that our voices could dominate these conversations. So we want to ensure that we try to be as cognizant of that as possible, and to create an open space where anyone feels comfortable contributing.
I think we're going to learn so much from these few minutes that we actually grabbed together. But the first thing I've got to do is to apologise for skipping Deborah. Somehow, Deborah, when I went down the line, I missed your face there and didn't ask you to introduce yourself. So would you mind, from your Aladdin's Cave, which looks beautiful, could you just introduce yourself? I think if your mic is red, it's muted.
Now it's here. Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, hi everybody, and hi Frances and everybody on site as well. As you'll see, I got this is the nearest I could get to FEMED Tech with my scarf.
Oh, brilliant.
Because I'm still waiting for the badge, but of course, I know it'll come.
It will.
So I'm Deborah Arnold. I'm British, but I've been in France for 30 years, and here I am connecting from France. What can I say? I work in OERs.
Didn't you?
Sorry?
You were the last curation.
Yes, yeah, I was going to come to that. Yeah, so I work in a French digital university, which is part of the French OER movement. And we should really be there. Next time we'll do better, and we will definitely get a delegation. And I'm also a PhD student studying at the Open University of Catalonia, so I know about open education from the learner side as well. And yes, I've just finished 2 weeks curating the FamEdTech Twitter account, which was an amazing experience. I'd always felt, I've been following the hashtag for quite a while, and I'd already felt that sense of community. I knew that there was a whole group of people I could reach out to. I was learning a lot. And then when it actually came to take on the curation, as I wrote in the blog post on the FamEdTech space, it was like a huge responsibility. And I really did feel that it made me think really, really carefully about what FamEdTech is, what we stand for. The we comes into it, although we're a diverse and distributed group of people. Some of us have met before. I think I remember meeting you, Francis, years and years ago at Online Educa in Berlin. I seem to have a memory of that. So yes, I mean, it's great to be part of this, and now I have a clearer idea of what my values are, what I want to support, and how I want to take this forward. So thank you for the opportunity, and let's carry on.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, and good to feel now that we've included everybody in the room. And I have to come back to something that was mentioned sort of in passing when we were talking about FamEdTech, and we were talking briefly, you raised your little bag of euros. Was that a bit of crowdfunding that was going on to help support?
But you will get your badge as well. You have to pay. It's a member benefit.
I kind of feel that it's, you know, sort of emblazoned somehow. It's kind of embodied. It's part of me. It's I've found this as a network hugely supportive, and said he commented that he thought he'd heard about it, and it gives me great joy to think that people in Ghana may have heard of FamEdTech. That's brilliant. So can I just come to the virtually connecting folk, and do you have some questions for guys on site? Do you have anything you'd like us to follow up? I'll just quickly scan through and see if we have any questions in the chat, but do grab the mic.
Hello.
Hi, Sadiq.
So I just want to find out if there are other people on site working on research or maybe educational related issues regarding people from the global south, or if someone is doing any research in Africa or something like that.
Yes, there are. I mean, probably the best way for you to look in more detail, because I'm just going to pick out some names that come off the top of my head. But the best way for you to find that out is to look at the program, which is at OER. Oh, I'm going to get it wrong. I'll just have to post it into the thread for you. But there are definitely. I mean, when is it this afternoon? When
yes,
yeah.
There are quite a lot of sections in the. I'm just looking for the program relating to open education in the global south. Obviously, one of the co-chairs of the conference this year is Laura Cernovitz from South Africa, and we have a very diverse group of keynotes. Kate Bowles from Australia gave a keynote this morning. The plenary keynote is a group session of three women who's I'm just going to program here. Kathleen Adams, Caroline Kuhn, and Judith Keats are doing the keynote panel.
Judith working in Kenya,
I think so.
Yeah. So do you have a look at the program online, and we'll post the link. Oh, somebody's posted the link to the.
I think I've seen the link.
Yeah, there was quite a lot in OER 17 as well, actually. Sorry, in OER 19 in Bristol. as well that's relevant. And the virtual exchange work that I'm doing at the moment is very much aimed at southern Mediterranean countries too.
And there was a good activity just before the conference started.
Yes. Yes. So plenty of good connections to make for you, Sadiq. We'll follow up. So now we know who you are and we've connected. Hopefully we'll.
One of the notes at last year's conference was Momadou Salah, who works in. Does Momadou work in? He's in West Africa as well. I think he does a lot of his work.
Well, yes, he does.
He's based in the University of Salford. Is that right?
No, he's not.
Not Salford, which one?
I don't know. I think it was in.
I can't remember, but he does a lot of his work in West Africa. So there's some very strong connections with the conference.
It's worth saying, Sadiq, that not only are all the keynotes and everything that's in the lecture theatre on the programme will appear as a recorded video, or you can watch it live streamed, but also if you go to the ALT OER channels, you can see last year's as well. So you would be able to go back to OER 18 and further, and further back,
4 years.
So, I mean, one of the things also great is assembling such rich resources and support for virtual participation. So at that website, there's a whole section on how to participate remotely.
Momadou Salah, after his keynote, he's De Montfort University, but he's done a lot of work in the Gambia, which was really impressive, and he talks about that. And that's available to watch the video.
Great. Lovely to see the network at work. That's brilliant. There's a question in the chat that I'm going to raise. So this is coming back to the FemEd Tech session. What came out of the session?
So the session, when we wrote our proposal, we originally applied to do a 1 hour open space session. But given there were so many submissions this year, we got a half-hour slot instead. So really, we only had time to introduce the FemEd Tech network and to introduce the FemEdTech.net open space. But what we did was we used that time to try and communicate our values, and also to frame some of the questions that have come out of previous OER conferences, to invite people to start to think and to write and to contribute to FemEdTech.net around those topics. So I can't actually reach the keyboard from where I'm sitting, but if somebody could pop the Teresa, can you maybe pop the URL, if you haven't done already, of the website into the chat? And we would really encourage all of you to, Alan has already been in there and written stuff, we'd really encourage you all to have a look at some of the questions here, or any other stories or comments or anything you want to contribute around openness and education technology. Contribute there. And we also have a small prize for the best contribution by the end of the conference. And that could be from you as well. It doesn't need to be somebody who's here.
We've got so many euros we can afford to post.
Now don't spend it all at once. I see Lou's just popped up and is joining us as well. Lou Mycroft, so please pop your mic on, Lou, if you can, and tell us where you're joining us from.
Ken.
Go for it, Lou.
You keep turning your mic on and off.
Yeah, if the mic's red, it's off. Oh, maybe the mic's not connecting.
Well, Lewis, even though she's not at the conference, is at our next session. And we've got a lovely video from her, which will be in our presentation, but we'll also post it on social media as well.
Lovely, thanks. I know she's been engaging on Twitter. I've been tweeting with Lou as well. So, yeah, maybe the mic's not working or something, but feel free to put any questions into the chat that you've got for the guys for FemEd Tech related questions.
Maybe we'll like to say a little bit about the session that we'll be doing.
Please do. Yeah, please do.
So what we're doing is we're looking at what exactly is FemEd Tech, and what I've been doing is I've been going back over tweets from the curated account, going back to last year, and just looking at them, coding them for themes, and seeing what sort of commonalities are coming out, but also what what are the differences, and what do we as individual curators with our own networks and our own sort of understandings of what FemEd Tech is, what we bring to it. And it's a very rich resource there of different tweets, and some of the patterns and things that we've identified are quite interesting. In particular, feminism and feminists, as Lorna was saying, feminist ways of thinking, criticality and theory, and that application beyond the sphere of feminism and education and technology seems to be huge. So people are tapping into networks that are thinking like that. And interestingly, on the other side of it, then, you know, we're getting a lot of tweets about criticality in relation to technology, circumspection about privacy, big data, and, you know, platform capitalism. And then the smallest representation, in a way, is education itself. You know, it's almost like implicit in everything. And one of the areas that's been highlighted is looking at careers, looking at how women are, you know, even using FemEdTech as a way of posting job adverts that people might want to apply for, and how, you know, structural inequalities are working against many people, not just women in working in academia. But it's been absolutely fascinating. And I think, you know, what as my personal experience of it was I curated as a means to find out what FemEdTech was. Because I remember at the time seeing tweets and stuff about when it was emerging as a network, and I hadn't yet turned into a shared curation. But I was thinking, okay, hang on, I identify as a feminist, I work in education technology, this is a no-brainer, I should be involved in this in some shape or form, but I didn't quite have an in. And then the shared curation meant that I could have an in and sort of make it something that I could contribute to. And that relates back to precarity, because at the time I was, when I volunteered, I was unemployed, I was actively seeking work, and I didn't have, you know, an institution, I didn't have somewhere that I was feeling at home. And, you know, FemEdTech in some way was kind of a constant sort of thread through my life that it gave me a kind of a community, which was hugely important for me at that time.
And I think these issues of precarity that are starting to affect higher education very much globally now were very much at the forefront in Kate Cole's keynote this morning. And if you weren't able to hear her keynote live, I would highly recommend taking the time to listen to it online. It will be on the Alt website. It was very moving and I think a very necessary keynote, and very thoughtful, very reflective. And it was interesting that some of the questions that came out afterwards were about precarity and the way that education is changing and the impact that's having on us as people. And again, this is something that we do try to be cognizant of in the FemEdTech network, is that many of us are in very precarious positions for numerous reasons, through employment, through our identities. There are sort of intersections of precarity, I think, there. And we want to try to be able to support that.
And the FemEdTech.net, as actually you said earlier, Lorna, offers, you don't have to be anonymous, but it offers anonymity. We don't, we have a code of conduct, so we wouldn't allow people's anonymity to let them damage others, but you can have anonymity if you wish. So if there's something you want to say but you don't want the boss to hear, FemEdTech.net's the place for you to say it.
Can I actually ask Alan a little bit about about the development of this plot to enable that anonymous posting, because I think it's such a powerful feature.
Well, you need to sit down with Brian Lamb, who's there, but it was from a fellowship I had at Thompson Rivers in 2014, and one of the issues they were dealing with was some of the Canadian issues with sending students to US-based sites because of the privacy laws here that meant that the government could actually get that data, and so they were reluctant to recommend to their students that they create accounts on these sites where potentially their identity could be used. And so the question was, can we create some small useful tools that don't necessarily mean giving away information about yourself if it's not really needed? And so that was the seed idea. And just want to shout out to Tanya Elias, who did one of the great early things with this theme where she created a site for victims of domestic abuse to anonymously share their stories, and it was a really powerful thing. I hope she gets it back online soon.
I'm very aware that Kate needs to sweep you guys off about 30 seconds ago, and therefore we should let that happen. But I'm so grateful to you all for sharing with us an insight. There they go already. An insight in FemEd. Oh wow, yes. Now we can see who we've really been talking to. Thank you. And thank you so much for giving us the heads up. And hopefully now we've seen each other face to face, and we can extend and continue those conversations.
And join us. And thank you. It's lovely for you to come and join us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much.
Forward to your posts on FemEd. Yes.
We'll be there. Thank you. Thanks all. We'll let the on-site folk move on with their next.
Well, we have to go to another room.
So next room, next topic. Thanks all very much. But if you're virtually connecting, you're very welcome to continue the conversation, and we can continue exploring a little bit more about what is a splot. I've shared a link in there, but I think splots are opening doors for us all in terms of thinking about how we can be more inclusive and enable people to join conversations, rather than perhaps contributing to the sort of data harvesting that happens in many sites and platforms. So, peace, quiet now as the conference doors close to us briefly. Thank you all so much for coming. Is there anything that anybody would like to follow up? Or please do grab the mic. I'm going to switch the recording off